Gotcha. Middleton, I copy your here. Looks like Alder Jackson just logged on just in time.
Great.
We have not been called to order yet, but we are all here, it looks like.
At this time, we're going to call the LNO meeting 11:12, 6:30 p.m. to order. Only one request that I have is Mr. Tyler. I am driving, so if you can read off the agenda.
Gotcha. I can help you with that. The first thing you've got is any comments from citizens present.
Any comments from any citizens present? Any hands up, Tyler?
Nope.
All righty. Moving on to the next item on the agenda.
Looks like it's approval of the minutes from the October 8th meeting.
Can I get approval of the minutes from the October 8th meeting?
Polish move to approve.
Admiral second.
I got a first, I got a second. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes from the 8th, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda.
So we moved a miscellaneous discussion up here. So this is a discussion regarding downtown parking restrictions.
Okay.
At last meeting, you tasked me with getting some feedback from the DMBA and chamber. We solicited that feedback, and I invited Kristen Parent, who has joined us tonight. She is a representative on both organizations and gave some good insights. So I just invited her to kind of speak directly rather than me trying to summarize all of that for you all.
Okay. Christian.
Hello, everyone. We
Hello.
also have Andrea Van Ness joining us, who is current president, soon to be past president of DMBA also. So we're both here to kind of just weigh in and let you know some of the feedback that we've been hearing, fully intending that this is more of an information gathering than by any means a motion or a decision for tonight. I can tell you from the chamber standpoint, we have not engaged in conversations. So my comments tonight are from conversations based on specific discussions the DMBA board has had, which I sit on as secretary.
Okay.
So part of it, as we know, the current owner of the Village Green has presented some ideas on changing parking restrictions, specifically eliminating the 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. spot. There were a couple reasons behind that from Andrew, which involved the kind way to say that, some of his staff who leave late at night, if they could be parked a little bit closer. He felt from a safety standpoint that would feel better for them. In addition to anyone that has maybe participated and had a few too many, and needs a safe ride home, their car would stay while they got a safe ride versus trying not to get a parking ticket and getting behind the wheel and being in a situation that's unsafe.
Sorry to interject for just a quick moment. Alder Jackson, if you're able to position your camera so it's on, we have the Middleton review commenting and just pointing out by ordinance, the camera needs to be on and visible.
See me now?
I
Not see me?
No. I cannot see you at the moment. You were going in and out a moment ago.
Okay.
I think just the positioning and the lighting is maybe messing it up a little bit.
Okay, give me just a minute. What is
You may have to remove the background or
We lost him entirely.
or go.
Do you want me to wait to see if he pops back on?
Why don't you give it just a minute here, just so you don't have to have you repeat. I'm sorry, Kristen.
No, that's okay.
I need some hold music queued up. I'll work on that for next month.
Someone can sing.
Not it.
Definitely not me.
Do not want that to be me.
Just to answer your question in the chat, Janelle, District 2 is going to be Alder Kim Madden. And Kristen, I guess just for the sake of everyone's time, I'm okay with you continuing to speak, unless Matt, if you have any objection, we can summarize if Jeffrey pops back in here.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, might as well go forward.
Sure. So just where we kind of left off, the current downtown parking restrictions do not allow cars to be parked down there from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. The feedback we received from the Village Green was that that may encourage someone rather than discourage them from getting behind the wheel in the thoughts that they may get a parking ticket during those hours, which is obviously not something that we would promote from a safety standpoint, as well as having his staff be able to move vehicles a little bit closer to the building when they're leaving late at night. So I think the overall consensus, again, from our DMB board members was that they would support that effort of removing the 2 to 4 a.m. parking. But I think that was more based on Public Works needing to be able to have some winter months to be able to clear the snow removal down there. And I don't know, Andrea, if you want to weigh in on that at all.
Yeah, Andrew did bring up, it could be removal of the 2 to 4 restriction, AM restriction during non-winter months. We weren't clear on when alternate street side parking takes place. If there is such a thing in downtown, then maybe the restriction on 2 to 4 a.m. could be lifted altogether because alternate street side would take care of clearing streets for plowing. That was a question that came up in the discussion.
Couple of quick issues just in response to that. So alternate side, I'm just specifically thinking of the L of Stonehorse Green and by Village Green. Even if we did alternate side park that, there's only parking on one side, so that would be kind of irrelevant. Alternate side would do nothing to facilitate public works as far as snow removal. The way alternate side works is if there is no parking on one side of the street, everyone just always parks on the side where there is. So it wouldn't give them the lane. And just other little context on that, the question as far as when alternate site is, it's November 15th to March 15th. And the other reason Public Works had cited in the feedback directly to me was street cleaning and street sweeping. So it's not even purely a winter month issue, it's street cleaning year round. And so they're not in support of waiving that entirely or getting rid of that regulation because they say they do need some time frame there to facilitate street maintenance. But just to answer those questions that were brought up, sorry, you had more.
Nope, you're good. So that was the one piece that we've heard. The other was currently in downtown Middleton has 2-hour parking restrictions where Village Green was in favor of more of a 4-hour parking limit. And I will say that our board of directors is very split on this issue. It really depends on the business, where 2 hours could help or 2 hours could hurt businesses depending on the type of business that they're in. So we don't really have a consensus. Therefore, the board has not taken any kind of stance or made a motion or anything to support one way or another. I think we, as the DMBA board, would want to solicit some more feedback from businesses before we could make any further recommendation on that part. Andrea, do you want to add?
And that's specific to the street parking, not the parking lots where there's some 2 hours, some 4 hour. This was specific to street parking. Yeah, I mean, what we talked about doing is if and when this topic progresses, we can put together materials, let the businesses all know when discussions are happening for decisions to be made with a letter put together so that businesses can weigh in on behalf of their own business. But it really was split depending on the type of business.
One of the other things that came up is just feedback from you guys that you mentioned to me. It was some suggestions for maybe some better signage downtown, just to kind of point back toward those municipal lots where we do have longer term parking. And I think that was the goal when this was put in place, is for employees or people that are going to be there for a long period of time, that it would be reasonable for them to walk perhaps a block or two if they are able. So perhaps just some better demarcations of that. And
That kind of
Jackson,
also fits into a topic that we had at our board meeting last week, just around help with communication in general, signage being one part of the communication. But there is a parking map that we created back in 2020, and then Visit Middleton took over, just helping getting the parking map out to people, making sure it's communicated. It doesn't really change. There's not a lot to update. Now the road work is done. It was updated weekly in the past, but just people don't even know that there are parking lots. And so signage is one way to help communicate that, but just whether it's, I know this isn't CDA here, but just help with a communication plan, either through Visit Middleton, through the city, just getting the word out that there's a lot of parking. So one opportunity to help with that could be just to even count how many parking spots are in each of those parking lots, just to help overcome this perception that there just aren't enough spots downtown.
Alder Jackson, I see a hand raised from you. And
Yes, if I remember, Matt, you had chimed in on this the last time. I was just wondering if you could give any feedback on where the city might stand on this situation.
Well, I think kind of where you've been phasing in and out, Tyler's been relating. I mean, from a legal perspective, we can do nearly anything we want, but I think Public Works has been expressing some concerns, and we kind of discussed the main ones with regard to the 2 to 4 a.m. Regulations have to do with just street plowing, sweeping, cleanup, and that sort of thing. In terms of the 2 hour to 4 hour, as we discussed before, we've done the parking studies downtown, and I think this has been suggested by the DMBA board meetings. That short parking window is very helpful for some businesses. Others might like it a little bit longer, and but it certainly was set at that time to encourage turnover at those street parking spots. Now, whether the makeup of the downtown businesses have changed in some way, or there's other reasons to revisit that. I guess is ultimately a policy decision. I forget now how long ago it is that we did that study. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but
I know we had it in the meeting packet last month. I want to say it was around
Right.
2013, roughly 10 years old. So it is a little dated, but not a ton of makeup has changed, but some things certainly have.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, the landscape of downtown has certainly changed in the last several years. Some of the feedback we heard is that we want people to spend time in downtown. So a 4-hour parking would allow for that. So you can shop and visit different stores and get something to eat and all that. But that at the same breath, there are businesses that need parking to turn over quicker. So all of those comments and conversations that you have heard is also where we're at as well, is there doesn't seem to be, a magic 8-ball or a light switch that we can flip that's going to make this an easy decision. I also think that as the community campus plan comes together and how that will change the downtown landscape, this might be a time that this conversation, we acknowledge that this conversation has been had. You guys have considered it, but we kind of wait and see how that plays out before we would make any significant ordinance changes. Besides maybe some signage, right? Like that seems like an easy win. If we can get some signage or some additional map support, or even, I don't know what the social media for the city looks like, if they can put things out. I'm sure Visit Middleton is already doing that because they want people to visit down there, but just, that communication and signage might be the Band-Aid until we get the landscape further figured out down there.
Do we have any idea kind of what the utilization of those I mean, because at least my recollection, maybe it's just discussions, but I think the thought always was that, well, if you need longer than 2 hours, you want to be down there. Well, that's what the lots with the longer times are. Do we have any sort of information on how those lots are being used? During peak times, are we seeing still? Is anybody looking at this?
Yeah,
there are big lot of spots open, or
yeah, I think there's opportunity for us to work with the businesses to communicate with employees, especially to take advantage of those lots, to free up the closer in spots for the guests who are coming to enjoy downtown Middleton. So that could partially help. I think it's also just an awareness thing. I don't think people, especially the lot next to the fire station, the 24-hour lot right there. Yeah, you have to cross University Avenue, but for some of us, some of the businesses, it's across the street basically. The library, the lot behind the library isn't all that far. My understanding with the railroad crossing will be opening back up again. So Terrace Avenue will be back in play as a spot because there's not a 2-hour restriction on that street. So that's something that was part of our request of, pushing to have that reopen, because that thoroughfare is very helpful and very important.
Yeah, well, the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads has appealed that decision. So,
okay.
I mean, it was going to be at least till spring before anybody started kind of reconstructing that to begin with. But now it looks like that's,
Okay.
I estimate about a year or so away from an appeal decision on that. So that's, good point. But yeah,
that's a longer term opportunity then.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the parking study, I mean, I don't know if that's an action item. A parking study in 2013 would be very outdated. Long Table was the first commercial tenant in Middleton Center, and we just celebrated 7 years after opening in 2017. So the whole area is just transformed quite dramatically, as we all know, since 2017.
Well, I agree with what has been said thus far, because going down there, I go to the library, I go to council meetings, and, even as Matt said, and I've been watching, I don't see the lots being used. I always get a parking straight in the lot. So I think it's a communication issue. I don't see the lots being overwhelmed that, you can't find a space in the lot, or even like you said, behind the library, that lot is open. Then you got the 24-hour lot. There is a lot of space down there, but I think it's a matter of communication and them knowing that they have use of those lots. Mm-hmm. And they're very close to most of the downtown businesses.
I mean, one of the talking points we've tried to come up with is no matter where you are in downtown Middleton, you're no more than a block away from a parking lot. So,
yes.
And that communication point was eye-opening for a lot of people. We just need help getting the communication out.
Yeah, and I agree with Alder Jackson. I think that enhanced communication about the parking availability downtown is important. I also agree with what Kristen said. I think that that there was reasoning and rationale for why the rules were put into place. It likely is outdated, like Andrea said, because it was a long time ago. However, in my opinion, I think that if we're going to be talking about parking, we should be talking about it in the context of a larger, bigger, more holistic discussion, like Kristen said, the community campus issue down there. Because if we make a decision now, then we talk about that larger initiative. We may want to go back to what we what we did before. And I also get the feeling that, Kristen, Andrea, and other folks did a lot of, great engagement to get people's initial thoughts on this. It just doesn't feel like we've had a lot of discussion about this, in terms of getting a lot of input, and we don't necessarily need to do a survey every time we make a decision. But in my opinion, this decision and discussion is better placed in that more holistic discussion of what the new, revised downtown kind of looks like in the broader context. It's kind of where I'm at with it.
So, Tyler, if I'm correct, this is just a discussion, right? This is nothing that we have to take an action on or vote on or anything.
Correct. Yep, this is purely a discussion. This was the issue that came to us from the city administrators asking us to look into it, given that the comments that were made at those council meetings. So and I would not agree with taking any action based on the divided feedback that we have.
At one point, on one of the documents, I saw parking meters was something that was thrown out for potential feedback, and that got a very swift note, please note, from the businesses. That is one of our big points of difference from other communities like Monroe Street or Willie Street or other streets that we're trying to attract guests from, so parking meters was not high on the list of things that the businesses would like to see. And I'm guessing our guests would agree with that.
It was something that had come up during my conversation with Kristen as well, and just to share our perspective on that from the police department side, consistent enforcement of that 2-hour parking. We simply don't have the staffing to do it, to be candid and honest. We're not out there every 2 hours constantly chalking tires or near the tires and doing that. So a way to ensure that we are consistent with that and reducing those complaints as far as businesses as when it's being enforced, when it isn't, is to go to a metered parking. Obviously, there are downsides to that as well. I know we all, nobody loves to plug the meter and do that, but it's just something that might be something we need to look at more long term or after that plan goes. I'm not saying that we need to make that happen, but from the police department side, we've been trying to get civilian service officers to help us as an enforcement arm for that. There was a restructuring of a position several years ago now where we had a civilian employee that was dedicated to parking enforcement. We lost that with some restructuring, and we just simply don't have the resources to do that. So that's one of the pains that I know we feel too, is that when it is enforced, it isn't the most consistent, which isn't a great practice long term.
Remind me, was this something Brian had just asked, or was this an actual referral from council?
It was not a referral from council. I think this was something Brian just sent directly just to start some discussion here.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think Andrew from Village Green had spoken at a council meeting.
Yeah, I remember him
forum.
speaking. Yeah, I remember him speaking at the meeting. I just don't remember if the council did anything to suggest that.
No.
There's any expectation that they're going to hear anything from us.
Yeah, I think there was an email then that he followed up with to like the mayor and District 1 Alder and Public Works and maybe a couple other people, which spurred Brian then to send it to this group for further review.
And with that said, Matt or Tyler, what do we do? Do we move it down the line to a future date, or do we table it? What do we do with this conversation?
Well, that's, I think, a good next discussion. I mean, it kind of sounds to me like we are all in some agreement that at least on the 2-hour parking issue that, there should be some effort both between the city and the downtown business organizations to try to communicate, the availability of the lots and make sure that those are used. I wonder if just when we have the next council meeting and reports from committees, if maybe we don't just bring up where the discussion was and just get a feel from the council whether there's any other follow-up they want, council wants taken on this. Because otherwise, yeah, I don't, without any specific action items, not sure exactly what will happen. Well, I'm pretty sure I know what will happen. This is, oh, yeah. Somebody will raise the issue again in another year, and we'll wonder, well, what do we do with that after we talked about it? But so I mean, that's we could go a lot of different ways to see. I mean, like I said, I don't know specifically what kind of city staff time or what things the city might be doing to do this, or if the business associates want to have some further discussions and then maybe come back and say, hey, after further discussion, here's some ways that the city could help out. That's another way to make sure this just doesn't float away into the ether. But
And as far as the communication piece, Kristen, I can connect you if you don't have, the city does have a social media manager, Brent McHenry, and seems like it would be something up his alley to kind of be posting those maps and making sure that communication's on the same page.
Yeah, and just a thought on the next steps too. So this item was referred to us by Brian, and so I think an appropriate next step would be to document. I mean, this is recorded, but document some of the ideas, the thoughts, the suggestions that were brought up during this meeting, and summarize that in a communication to Brian. Because I think that's what he was looking for, was a thorough discussion and people to throw out some ideas and thoughts and suggestions. And so I think that we should follow up with Brian, just let him know what the discussion was.
Agreed. Definitely agree.
Sounds good. I'll ensure that he has a summary of kind of the main points.
All righty. Thank you, Tyler. Next item on the agenda.
So we're going into event permits. So we have these can be combined, numbers 3 and 4, an event permit and sound permit to facilitate the candy cane hunt at Lakeview Park on December 13th or 14th. I have 2 dates down.
So it's going to be the 13th and the 14th.
No, sorry, that is my fault.
Sorry, okay. I just noticed that reading it now.
Yeah, that would be a typo. It is the 13th.
Okay.
So bullet point 3 was correct. My apologies for the amplified sound. Which this is just an annual event at Lakeview Park. It's community event with Santa and games, and obviously the candy cane hunt is the feature. Parks has already applied for the amplified sound, so luckily, I mean, my typo's there, but the permit does actually say the 13th, so that is helpful. But if you have any questions, let me know. But this is more of an internal application.
All righty, let's take an action on this. Can I get an action, a vote on approving this permit for the Candy Cane Lane December the 9th event?
Kalish moved to approve.
Can I get a second?
Admiral second.
All right, heard. All in favor of approval for the Candy Cane Lane event December the 9th with Santa, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Items number 5 and 6 can be combined. Then again, an event permit and amplifying the sound permit for the Glowing Smiles 5K run walk. And this would be all the way out to May 10th, 2025 at Orchid Heights Park.
And another annual event, a fundraiser in memory of Lena Vergara. It's been, I think it's in its 12th year. Yeah, no change in event plans. Parks has reviewed the route. Organizers are aware that they need to get permission from the county for the portion that goes on in Pheasant Branch that goes on to their land. And yeah, that's really all I have to share for that one.
And Tyler, that was 5K run on the 5th and the 6th of May.
No, it is. This is all on May 10th, 2025. It's all on
Okay.
trails, minimal impact, and no public safety concerns from us.
None at all. Okay. Can I get a vote on approval for this permit, May 10th, 2025, 5K run?
This is Madden. I'll make that motion.
Thank
Kyle,
you.
she'll second.
Got a first, I got a second. All in favor on approval for the permit, May 10th, 2025, 5K run? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Moving down the line.
Items 7 and 8, then again related, again, an event permit, amplified sound permit. This would be for the New Year's Day Dash, January 1st, 2025. There are some changes to this one as far as location this year. Laura, I'll let you kind of summarize that.
Sure. Yep. So another annual event, and Garrett Wilson is on the line with us. I know he was having issues before, but I think he had it figured out. So he's here to answer any questions. But another annual event, been going on 20 years, I think. But the biggest change is that it is changing locations. It's been at Kiva for many years, and now they are moving to Tanner's Bar and Grill. So with that, there was obviously route changes for the 5K and I think there was 2 mile. And there has been some back and forth with Public Works on approving that traffic control plan. So I wouldn't say that it's completely confirmed yet. So if the committee is willing to make a motion to approve, I would suggest that it's contingent upon getting that final approval. I don't think I have anything else to share unless I'm missing something on your end, Garrett.
The only thing I heard was it's a 5 mile, not a 5K.
5
So
mile. Thank you.
Yep.
Tyler, any concerns on the traffic concerns or the traffic issues that they're working out?
Just in general, from the police side of things, I think I had mentioned last year that the start time of this event is 10 a.m., which is a rather tough one for us to fill staffing wise, particularly on a holiday. Garrett's been amenable to that with this new plan. I think his goal really was to reduce the need for police officers. We have had to staff this with 2 in the past. With the previous plan, the current plan allows us to do it with just 1 officer at the intersection of Deming and Discovery, which I do think is reasonable. There's some back and forth still. There's a loop kind of on Pleasant View. We're recommending that those runners go against traffic consistent with state law. That plan before you doesn't exactly draw that. So that's kind of the part that's still up for debate as to how that loop is run. I can tell you that we appreciate it going to 1 officer instead of 2. That is going to be a little easier for us to fill. Obviously, with the traffic concerns, we want it to be safe as well. It'd be great if this was all on trails, but given that length, I don't think there's a great way for the organizers to do that either. So our intention is to do that with 1 officer, and we just kind of need to orchestrate that last little bit to make sure it's safe and consistent with laws and ordinances.
And I do also want to note another typo of mine, so my apologies, but item number 7 does say that it's at Kiva Sports Center. So I clearly was thinking of last year when I typed that.
Alders, any questions, comments, or concerns concerning this event?
I
No.
have none.
Okay. Well, all in favor of approving the permit for the January 1st, 2025 New York 5 mile gala, contingent upon the traffic circumstances and concerns being addressed. Can I get a vote?
Do you need a motion first?
On a motion.
A motion. I'm sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Kyle, she'll second.
I got a first. I got a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it.
All right, item number 9. So this is a draft ordinance to change with some committee consolidation. You do have a draft ordinance before you, but just to summarize, so this is coming as a referral to us to combine the Commission on Youth with the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Commission. Currently, the Commission on Youth actually does not even have enough members to meet. So that's why the PRFC is making this recommendation to combine that. So there's just some background in your packet considering those consolidation of those committees, and this is kind of a makeup of that. And Matt Fleming drafted the ordinance to kind of make that more official. Let me know if I'm missing something, Matt.
Yeah, no, that's about it. So all this does is that section 2.14 is the Commission on Youth, so that would be repealed, and the added language is more or less the beyond the first few words, the word for word duties and responsibilities of the Commission on Youth. So we just have PRFC now is also charged with doing that. It makes kind of a long paragraph for that paragraph B, but it seemed to kind of fit with those duties, and rather than reorganize the whole section, I figured we just have a little longer set of duties in that paragraph.
That'll work. Well, can I get a
We need a motion to recommend approval there.
so we're combining Commission on Youth with the PRFC?
Yep.
Okay. Can I get a motion on approval to combine the two commissions, the Commission on Youth with the PRFC?
Colish, move to approve.
Thank
Madden will
you.
second.
Got a first, I got a second. All in favor of combining the Commission on Youth with the PRFC, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, guys.
And the last one is another ordinance. So this was a referral from the Public Works Committee to revise the ordinance, just specifying the addition of city holidays. Some background on this. So it already says federal and state holidays. There is at least one city holiday. The only one I know of is the day after Thanksgiving. That wouldn't fall into a federal and state holiday. The Public Works Committee's thought here is this is relating to construction noise, and that if it's a city holiday, the building inspector's office is not available to take those complaints. So it should be added in as a holiday exception to that ordinance. From the police department's perspective, we would probably be the first ones responding. We do work on holidays, so I'm not sure this one matters much to me either way, but it does just make the language more consistent. We also have a draft ordinance already drafted by Matt Fleming making that change as well.
Matt, could you just give me some insight on this?
I don't really have anything else to add. I mean, as Tyler said, I think there's only one holiday that is a city holiday that is not a federal or state holiday. So basically, and the ordinance prohibits or says that really only between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. can you do construction Monday through Saturday, unless it's a federal, state, or city holiday. This would just add one more day where, if anyone has really been complaining about people doing construction on the Friday after Thanksgiving, is that the one?
That's the day. I don't know that that's been an issue for us.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to find out. So
yeah.
So people are complaining about noise on construction on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Okay.
Well, I don't think there is actual evidence that anyone is in fact complaining.
Okay.
Something that the Board of Public Works or Public Works Committee decided was important.
Yeah, I think stemming from our Public Works discussion about it was exactly it, is that we just wanted consistency in the language and to make sure that, because the city inspector is not available on that day to either do inspections or take complaints, that if there was an issue, it might put an undue burden on the police department who would have to take those calls. It cleans up the language and just makes it more consistent with the actual city operating hours.
Okay.
Although, but what this does is actually makes it a violation to do construction on that day,
Right.
in which case.
So it makes it a violation to do construction on the day after Thanksgiving. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I know something new to me.
But it's currently okay to do that.
Oh, I mean, I'm just asking something new to me. I would think all the noise that is going on the day after Thanksgiving is in the malls for Black Friday. I mean, I don't know what kind of, I haven't been privy to any kind of noise or construction that anybody would want to do the day after Thanksgiving. But can I get a motion to vote on this ordinance?
This is Madden. I'll move approval of the ordinance.
Thank you.
And Kyle will second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor of approving this ordinance? We got a first and we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye, the ayes have it.
That's all I have on the agenda. Matt, if you can just stick around for a minute, we just have a quick question for you, but that's it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your feedback. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your support. I'm new to this, but thank you for the great support. Thank you all for your support. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Have a good night.
Dude.